us to be here together tonight. Let me see if I can get my presentation working here. And apologies in advance, I'm fighting a bit of a cold, so if I start coughing, sneezing, or any of those things, I'm so sorry. I'm really happy to be here. Our Paul Harris Society is such a special group of people, and I know both Paul and Sandy shared with me that there's going to be individuals who are current Paul Harris Society members on this call, those who may be interested in the Paul Harris Society, and those who are meeting that eligibility requirement annually, and we'd like them to have more information about the Paul Harris Society. So as Sandy mentioned, my name is Edina Mehovic. I'm the Senior Annual Giving Officer. I cover the entire Zone 28, so that's Alaska, Canada, Michigan, a little part of Maine, New York, Washington, and I'm forgetting a little part of some state I know for sure. I always do when I go through this run through. So there's 20 districts that I cover. Along with me, there are 5 other annual giving officers that cover US territories, as well as 4 international that are in India, Brazil, Japan, and Korea. A little background on me real quickly. I joined Rotary in 2014, January 2014, and I first started as a support center coordinator. And if you've ever had to call the support center, you know they know everything. So I am a little bit of a know-it-all because of my background. I know things that are outside the foundation, within the foundation. I had the pleasure of working in that department for 4.5 years and being able to build that basic Rotary knowledge and bring it with me in August of 2018 to my annual giving role. In addition to what Sandy mentioned, I do assist the districts in promoting the foundation and also finding new ways to engage donors, whether they be current donors or new donors, in growing our annual fund. So before I get into the Paul Harris Society, I just want to start this session with saying every gift makes a difference. Oftentimes, I've been on the road and I've heard individuals say, Rotary raises $500 million. What does my gift help do? Well, every dollar leads into that 500 million. So we never want anyone to feel that their gift doesn't count. Every donation, anything that anyone can make does count towards helping the Rotary Foundation and our grants and district projects. So Rotary has had a history of more than 100 years of serving our communities, and that's near home and around the world. And your continued support to the Rotary Foundation brings that lasting and positive change to communities in need. It all started with Paul Harris back in 1905. He was the individual that started Rotary International. After he moved to Chicago, Illinois, he gathered a few business associates to discuss forming a club for diverse local professionals to exchange ideas and form friendships. On February 23rd of 1905, he met with Gustavus Lohr, Sylvester Schell, and Hiram Shorey at Lohr's office at the 7-Eleven room of the Unity Building. That building no longer stands there. It's now a little shopping mall called Block 37, if you're familiar with the Chicago area at all. But we do have a replica in our headquarters in Evanston. So if you're ever there, please make sure to make some time to visit that room. I'm sure, Sandy, you've been there. Mostly. No? Oh, okay. So when you come to ORC. The Paul Harris Society is named after our founder, and it's a giving society of more than 35,000 dedicated donors worldwide. Paul Harris Society recognizes Rotary members and friends of Rotary who make a commitment to intend to contribute US $1,000 or more each year, and they can do so to the annual fund, Polio Plus Fund, Disaster Response Fund, and an approved foundation grant. Contributions to the endowment fund do not count towards Paul Harris Society, but all other contributions do. The Paul Harris Society was created in 1999. It was created by past District Governor Wayne Cusick from District 5340 in California. Cusick realized that giving $1,000 US annually to the foundation was not possible for every Rotary member. but many could be encouraged to contribute at this level or above. He introduced the Paul Harris Society program to encourage and recognize these donors. The idea gained momentum and quickly spread to other districts throughout the world. Wayne Cusick began this mid-level donor recognition to cultivate one-on-one relationship with donors, to encourage donors to commit to future giving, and to create a field of prospective donors for major gifts and estate gifts. This recognition was administered by the districts until the Society became an official Rotary Foundation program in July 2013. Since July 2013, it has been handled and taken care of by the Rotary Foundation. Just a quick glimpse of where those 35,000 members are located all over the world, or top 10, I should say. We have more countries than this. As you can see here, the US is the top country with Paul Harris Society members, but Canada is up there as well in the top 5 countries contributing to Paul Harris Society. The membership has grown from about 10,600 members in 84 countries in 2013-14 and is now, as I mentioned, over 35,000 members in over 150 countries globally. In 2013-14, the Paul Harris Society members accounted for nearly 11% of annual fund giving. Last Rotary year, 24-25, the generosity of our Paul Harris Society members contributed to 21.2% of annual fund gifts. That is $31 million in contributions towards future district and global grant projects. Additionally, our Paul Harris Society member contributions account for 21.5% of total giving, and that's $44.5 million, which every time I read those numbers, they're astounding to me. Our society's members' consistent support is really incredible, and it's so important to the districts that have the Paul Harris Society members. What it means is that each year, the district can rely on these gifts to be given from these donors, and then those gifts can be turned into projects, whether they be district projects or global grant projects. So let's take a look at what Paul Harris Society looks like in your district. So right now, I'm going to highlight this number here. There's 67, as of January 15th, there are 67 Paul Harris Society members in your district. And year to date, they've made $50,000 in contributions. And you can see what that breakdown looks like: $31,000 to annual fund, $13,000 to Polio Plus, and $5,000 to other funds. That includes those approved global grants and disaster response funds. Last year, 60% achieved their fulfillment for the Paul Harris Society. What this means is that out of those 67 individuals, 60% made that commitment of $1,000, made that donation of $1,000 to one of these funds. And additionally, this year we have 5 new Paul Harris Society members. So great job, Paul. Thank you for what you do. So why should someone join the Paul Harris Society is a question that may be asked. Well, the Paul Harris Society is a vital community of donors who are dedicated to making a difference and supporting our Rotary Foundation programs. They do so year over year through their commitment and meeting that commitment on an annual basis. They're philanthropic leaders in their community that inspire others to support the Rotary Foundation. And lastly, the Paul Harris Society is also a way to achieve your own personal long-term philanthropic goals and to earn recognition. So for example, we have many individuals that join the Paul Harris Society and use that as a way to achieve major donor status or their Paul Harris Fellows as they go along for each $1,000 commitment. Every donation to Paul Harris Society, because it is going to one of the eligible funds, does accrue foundation recognition points that you can give to someone else to recognize them as a Paul Harris Fellow. and it also recognition for yourself towards your Paul Harris Fellows. There are various ways to join our Paul Harris Society. One way is to join online by visiting rotary.org/Paul Harris Society. When you go on that website, there's a form that you fill out. That form comes to the Rotary Foundation, and someone on our end has to check you off as a Paul Harris Society member in our system. Once that is completed, a letter is automatically emailed to you as well as to Paul as the Paul Harris Society coordinator, notifying that you've enrolled in the Paul Harris Society. You can also email the Rotary Support Center. The Rotary Support Center is a great tool in assisting you with enrolling in Paul Harris Society. You can simply email Rotary Support Center at rotary.org. You can also mail in the Paul Harris Society brochure or hand it to Paul as well, and he can scan it over to us or send it to us. And lastly, you can call our Rotary headquarters at 866-976-8279. That phone number will lead you to the Rotary Support Center, and they can assist you over the phone. There are many ways to fulfill giving once you join the Paul Harris Society. We mentioned at the beginning of this call, my daughter is a skater, and that means I don't have any money. So when I see $1,000, it is shocking to me. So that seeing that large number is a hard number for me to digest. But we do offer Rotary Direct through the Rotary Foundation. And for those of you that don't know, Rotary Direct is our automated deductions giving platform. And through Rotary Direct, you can give $85 per quarter, per month, $250 per quarter, or $1,000 per year to achieve your Paul Harris Society eligibility. When you're giving through Rotary Direct, it's taken automatically from your credit or debit card, and it is US dollars. So I know we have some fluctuations that happen in the currency, but it is based on US dollars. You can set up a Rotary Direct through My Rotary, and there's a link down at the bottom, my.rotary.org/Rotary-Direct. When you go in there, you sign into your My Rotary account. If you don't have a My Rotary account, please sign up for one. It's a great tool where you can look at your reports, your individual reports. You can manage your donations. And this is where you can also manage your Rotary Direct, and you can start or stop your Rotary Direct or change the increments that it comes out on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. You can also do it the traditional way, which is sending in a check at whatever interval is works best for you, or calling the Rotary Support Center to have them help you, or making a one-time donation on myrotary.org. And as with most programs that Rotary Foundation has, we do offer recognition with the Paul Harris Society. We have a certificate and a chevron that is issued once you become a Paul Harris Society member. The chevron goes on the back of your Paul Harris Society pin, or I'm sorry, Paul Harris Fellow pin, I should say, not Paul Harris Society pin. This recognition is held by your district Paul Harris Society coordinator, Paul. And he issues that certificate and that chevron once he receives that letter stating that you've enrolled in the Paul Harris Society.
Edina, I wanted to say that I always send a letter to the new member asking if they'd like me to come to their club. Now, maybe to go to the far reaches for a 7:30 a.m. meeting. Have to get up even earlier than Aaron. But I think some are very happy to have a presentation in front of their club, or as
that's very true.
The gentleman from Ancaster recently at the Rotary gathering. We do things publicly if the individual chooses.
Yep. And I love that you reach out, Paul, because not everyone wants to be recognized in front of an audience. So it's a great way to find out whether they would like a more personal recognition or if they would like to do it in a club setting. So that is a great way to go about it. I do want to make a note about some confusion that occurs with Paul Harris Society. There is some school of thought that you have to make the donation before you receive your chevron and your certificate, and that is not true. Once you enroll, those are issued, and then it is up to you to continue to meet that eligibility going forward. So I gave you a bunch of facts and information about how to join the Paul Harris Society, how to contribute to the Paul Harris Society, and the history of the Paul Harris Society, but I want to go a little bit deeper into the why join the Paul Harris Society. Like, what is the why behind all of this? Well, before I get into your district information, I like to share a story, a grant that's near and dear to my heart. And I'm sure some of you have already heard me share about this grant before, but it is personal to me, so I'd like to share it with you before getting into your projects. And this grant occurred between the Rotary Club of Bar Montenegro, Rotary Club of Oklahoma City, and we had connections with USAID a few years ago, and they were working on grants with us. Bar Montenegro is the city proper that my parents were born in. They were born in a small village outside of Bar Montenegro, and the hospital in Bar Montenegro is the hospital that served our village. So Rotary Club of Bar Montenegro and Oklahoma City joined forces to provide medical equipment, bedding, and training for preeclampsia and eclampsia to this hospital in Montenegro Bar. This may not mean a lot to those of us who have good health care in the US and in Canada, but in these hospitals, women have to bring sheets to the hospital with them. I was there just this summer, and a friend of mine's mom came home to shower because the conditions of the showers in the hospital are so horrible. So for them to receive new equipment and training and sheets is a major thing. And that grant was $74,500. Another one that's near and dear is a grant that the Rotary Club of Bar also sponsored, which is 10 schools in 10 years. And this is a smaller district grant that they sponsored. And this grant brought computers and TVs into rural schools. They were doing one school per year for 10 years. And one of those schools was a school that I attended there during my middle school years, where we were temporarily living in Montenegro. So these grants really show how it can affect not just your community here, but international communities as well. And there's so much good that your district is doing as well. It really does, the foundation does really accomplish so much when it has gifts from our Rotary members that it can turn back into district designated funds. So I pulled some grant project information for this year for your district, and I went to our Service Project Center, which is a new tool that we have where you can look up a district, and if they've posted pictures for projects and information, it will be there. So I plucked some pictures from projects that your district's been involved in the last year. They're not going to match the ones I talk about, but they are pictures from projects. And I showed that your district had 26 district grant projects this year for a total of $53,755 in awards for projects. For global grants, we already have 5 approved global grants in your district for a total funding of $171,000. And 4 global grants are either in submitted or draft status. Some of the things your district projects did is install water filling stations, plant pollinator gardens, provide funds to Organized Chaos, which is a youth group with focus on at-risk youth in the Six Nations area. You purchased food for those in need, and you provided scholarships and so much more. Globally, your district helped communities by providing cancer detecting equipment to a hospital in Bolivia, immunization, nutrition, and contraceptive education in Pakistan, providing safe drinking water and hygiene habits in Bolivia. And this last one I think is so cool. It's a cross borders global grant. So between your US side and your Canadian side, and it is to raise awareness, provide education, and implement prevention strategies regarding the nature and prevalence of human trafficking across the 7 counties in District 7090. So give yourself a hand. I love to see some projects take place at home too, because I think sometimes we forget that we also have things happening in our communities, and we can use these global grants to help them as well. So I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. Every gift makes a difference, regardless of the gift side, regardless of whether you decide to give $10 a month or $10 a year. Every gift makes a difference. And I wanted to show you just a couple of examples of the types of gifts and dollar amounts that these contributions can help with. And while you take a look at this, I also want to share that in last Rotary year, our grants team processed 1,424 grants, global grants, and that was $81 million in funding for sustainable, life-saving, life-altering projects in the US, in Canada, and all around the world. And I want to thank you for all that you do, and all, whether it's donating your time, talent, treasures, passions, voice, and without our Rotary members, we couldn't do anything that we do. So thank you so much. And I'm happy to answer any questions.